Well, what do we have here? I'm guessing we've stumbled across into our first loading screen for the beginning portion of this entire Let's Play so far. Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Maxi here, and I am from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos here. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll present to you our redo Let's Play of Sonic the Hedgehog, aka Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 or Sonic 06, Sonic 360, Sonic Next Gen, or just Sonic the Hedgehog, which as a result, yeah, I'm just gonna call it Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 for now, because you probably get the idea what the actual solution is all about. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we'll present to you our yet another redo Let's Play of the Sonic games for the sake of 2024, and here we go on to Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. This game did first came out in 2006, for the Xbox 360, and also for the PlayStation 3, despite the fact that the PlayStation 3 version has to wait until 2007. Now, as you can tell on screen, the version I'm going to be playing on this time around is the PlayStation 3 version. Now, you guys are probably thinking about the fact that why are we doing this redo Let's Play if you're probably wondering. Well, technically speaking though, I did somehow did this game in the past few years ago, and I did somehow manage able to start this Let's Play up back in 2012. I believe the previous two counterparts of this Let's Play was both on the Xbox 360, and because of that though, it's about the fact I feel like that those particular playthroughs are no longer there, which I'll explain more about it as soon as we're able to dive right into the main menu, which, by the way, yes, I'm playing the PlayStation 3 version, as you can tell from that particular create a save data system, and on top of that, as you notice, there's actually some button icons from X or circle, you name the rest. So, if you're probably wondering about the fact that I did somehow did this game at first glance back in 2012 all the way up to 2013, despite that back in the day about the fact that the camera quality is really bad, and on top of that, the commentary is even worse, and in addition to that, we keep on delaying certain parts for the sake of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, mainly because we've been busy playing some other games from time to time. Most notably, for the majority of the forms of some games like Mario Party, classic Sonic the Hedgehog games, you name the rest. And we did this also in 2017, even though despite the fact that that particular playthrough is no longer there either. I mean, usually the quality itself is good all in all, but I will admit though, the commentary is pretty bad, especially considering for the fact that much like Sonic 3D Fleeky's Island, we've come across into a problem where the commentary itself is a bit muffled thanks to the forms of this built-in mic for the laptop's sake. So because of that though, yeah, and on top of that, I didn't seem able to get that much views back then, especially back in 2017 in mind. So, but regardless of everything else though, is that here we are in 2024, this means about the fact that we are now tackling through a different version of the game, specifically the PlayStation 3 version. I was originally trying to able to touch upon the Xbox 360 version again, but I feel like that because my capture card gets a bit glitched out sometimes on the Xbox 360 version. But thankfully, the PlayStation 3 version, I don't seem able to stumble across into any technical hiccups here and there, which I think is actually pretty swell. So, anyway, enough about that. And of course, not to mention though, is about the fact that as far as what Tiana, she's already explained about this, ever since in Sonic 3D Fleeky's Island playthrough, obviously Sonic Cross Shadow Generations is about to be coming, and I'm super excited about that particular game because I love Sonic Generations so much, and I'm really looking forward to replaying that game again, but on modern platforms like Nintendo Switch, so I can play that game on the go, and on top of that with the PS4 version and maybe some Xbox One achievements to grind or something like that. But I suppose that particular topic can wait and join at some point later down the road. So, anyways, let's get to it with Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Now, for those of you probably wondering, yes, the entire structure of the game itself plays exactly like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, where basically though, that in Journey evolves within the actual story mode, as you can tell, we're going to be going through separate characters with their separate stories. Well, to be more accurate though, this game's structure plays pretty much like Sonic Adventure 1 in fact, because obviously as you can tell, as soon as you start the game off, you just somehow start things off with Sonic at first glance, but the more you've progressed in Sonic's story, you would able to actually unlock 2 other playable characters in journey forms of their respective stories. Now, keep this in mind though, is about the fact that the reason why I've automatically got myself the trial selection already accessed, including with the forms of the gold medal results here and there as well, because if you couldn't tell already, this game does have DLC, which I'll explain more details on that in a moment. So let's begin Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 for the Xbox 360/PlayStation 3.
It's all right. We give thanks for the blessed flames. May we always continue to have peace. Son of Soliana, guide and watch over us with your eternal light.
Pleasure to meet you at last, Princess of Soliana. I am Dr. Eggman. I've come here to obtain the secret of the flames of disaster from you, and to take the miracle gems that are the key to its secret, the Chaos Emerald. Now, Princess, this way, please.
That's a pretty snazzy performance there.
You? It can't be.
I'm Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog!
Not the irritating hedgehog again! Attack!
I finally found him. The Iblis Trigger.
Oh yeah, just to give you a heads up, there's a lot of loading screens in this game, which I already know this game is already bad enough as it is, especially how jarring the visuals can be sometimes.
Why are you helping me?
No special reason.
Sonic!
I'm afraid our little game ends now.
Sonic! Take this!
I've got it. And don't worry, I'll rescue you.
I know.
It's only a matter of time before it's mine. Until then, you can hold on to it for me.
Well, as it turns out, it's about the fact that there's this character called Princess Elise that she somehow got kidnapped by the evil clutches of Dr. Eggman. That sounds a little bit familiar, doesn't it? Even especially noticeable if you ever played a whole bunch of Mario games in the past. So it looks like that Princess Elise is a damsel in distress kind of character. So, anyway, enough about that. So let's jump right into the hub world, which is actually known as Soliana, and basically we need to collect information of Dr. Eggman, despite the fact that we already know Dr. Eggman is, right? Especially after playing any other Sonic games in the past, since, you know, 1991? Or technically speaking though, like Sonic Adventure or something. But anyway, this is Soliana right here. This is basically the hub world of this game. And what I can tell is about the fact that this particular place, I like the music and everything, but there's going to be some occasional pop-ups for the graphical oddities. And on top of that, it looks rather barren in comparison to Station Square from Sonic Adventure.
Sonic!
Tails, long time no see.
I'm glad you're here. I heard that you tried to save their princess from Dr. Eggman. You're going to rescue her, aren't you? Let me help. I may not know what Eggman's up to, but it can't be a good thing.
Okay, with your help, this should be a piece of cake.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, you do realize about the fact that the game's presentation is really bad. Like, for example, the character animations look a bit incredibly dodgy, and on top of that, the lip syncing does not match up to the English dialogue though, and because of that though, everything else about this game just feels a bit unpolished. Like, I know for a fact that it's been in a development hell back in Journey Films of in 2006, because this game was meant to be a celebration for the 15th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, next to the films of the other three games, which there are Sonic Riders, as well as Sonic the Hedgehog Genesis for the Game Boy Advance, and on top of that, Sonic Rivals for the PSP, which then again will explain more details about those specific games later down the road. So anyways, oh my god, I totally forgot about the bad frame rates. It's especially noticeable concerning for the fact that obviously we are playing the PlayStation 3 version. This means about the fact that there's going to be a lot of times where the frame rate decides to dip a lot. So usually it's already bad enough that I'm going to be tackling for the worst version of the two versions of Sonic 06, because for whatever reason, I'm pretty much more accustomed to the Xbox 360 version, mainly because of no matter what though, the frame rate is not nearly as bad as this. But no matter what though, is about the fact that I was, again, trying to play for the Xbox 360 version, but of course my capture card gets a little bit freaked out if they managed able to get the actual game boot up. So anyways, here's the first town mission right here, and you do need to complete... Oh no, we got this infamous going for the ring scenario since in Superman 64. There is no time to waste. So, anyway though, so for the most part though, it's about the fact that you're able to go through rings, and as you can tell, we're going into the first town mission in the game. And by the way, you do need to complete some town missions in order to progress for the plot, and there are a couple of times though, it's about the fact that you do able to occasionally ignore them later down the road, especially concerning for the fact that, well, as you can tell, we immediately gone into the first loading screen whenever you start the mission, and you go into another loading screen once you finish talking to Albert Robert, I think is what it says anyway. And then you get to another loading screen once you finish the mission, and then another loading screen after the results screen is done. So because of that, geez, the game runs at a snail's pace, and it doesn't matter if you which specific version of the game you're playing. But as you can see, we actually come across into the S rank, which technically speaking though, that was actually the first time ever in a console Sonic game to able to introduce the S rank system. Although it's not generally the first time that Sonic ever comes across the S rank, that honor goes to Sonic Rush for the DS, so I want to classify that. So anyway, so since we've got the S rank on the first town mission in the game, and basically though, as soon as you're able to get the S rank, you're able to get 1000 rings. And rings can be acted out as currency in this game, by the way, and basically we somehow purchased the light chip, which actually functions as a light speed dash. And also, you do realize about the fact that there's another technical problem with this game, and that's what appears to be the lack of autosaving, which, remember in the forms of in Sonic Adventure, as well as Sonic Adventure 2, that, basically, if you do manage to come across into an upgrade for specific characters, the game automatically saves, assuming if you do have your memory cards, at least specifically with VMU for the Dreamcast versions, and the memory card for the GameCube version, as well as the forms of memory storage from any other systems. You do realize that these games, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, every time whenever you do manage to obtain something like an upgrade, you get yourselves an autosave feature. In here though, there's no autosave feature, which is a massive step backwards from the likes of not only in Sonic Adventure, but also for Sonic Adventure 2 as well. So relatively speaking though, in order to save the game, is that you need to either save it manually, whenever you're trying to go into a pause menu, as you can tell, for the sake of this Soliana hub world, and basically though, if you select save, that allows you to save the game. And there's also another option, which you do need to do, by the way, and that is completing either certain stages or certain boss fights, which as a result though, yeah, that could be a nuisance though, especially concerning that the first impressions of this game is really bad though, mainly due to the fact that there's a lot of technical problems, and on top of that, this game is filled to the brim with a lot of glitches, which, personally speaking though, I've never actually come across into any game-breaking glitches with this title. I mean, there's one in particular exception though, by the way, but that's for a later time. So anyway though, so yeah, for the light speed dash, as you can tell, plays exactly like the forms of, specifically, both Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Heroes, and maybe technically Shadow the Hedgehog as well, that if you come near to those group of rings, as you can tell, this allows us to perform a light speed dash, and then you were able to go across the trail of rings. So, and relatively speaking though, you just simply press the actual button, and that's all you have to really do. Whilst unlike in Sonic Adventure 1, basically though, you have to charge up your light speed dash, and then you have to let go of the action button if you go near to the rings. So, yeah, you get the idea of what I was going to be explaining about any of those things. So, yeah, relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that, as you can tell, we're now onto the first stage in the game, specifically in Sonic's story, that we're going into Wave Ocean, where basically though it's all about the forms of going through, you know what I'm saying, with the forms of specific, familiar parts, and yeah, this particular place looks exactly like Emerald Coast, and speaking of Emerald Coast, this section looks familiar to you, and that's what appears to be based off from Emerald Coast, from Sonic Adventure. Like, I know for a fact that for one noticeable thing in mind, is that this game plays pretty much exactly like Sonic Adventure 1, where basically though it's about the fact that not only are you able to take control of Sonic, but as you can tell, there are a few rare occasions that we might able to switch between those different characters' amigos, or to be more specifically though, other selections of playable characters. Like, I'll explain more details about Sonic until for later, but as you can tell, we've now taken control of Tails, and he plays pretty much like the forms of how it does it in Sonic Adventure 1, except the fact that he's a lot more downgraded compared to the forms of how it does in Sonic Adventure 1 counterparts. Like, for one, the speed is really slow as soon as you're able to walk on foot, and luckily he doesn't have his mech or anything, although to be fair though, it's about the fact that I much rather prefer playing as Tails in both Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 in mind, but it's just about the fact that his running speed is a lot slower, and on top of that he just managed able to send some dummy ring bombs as his weapon, And on top of all that stuff though is about the fact that, well, as soon as you're trying to fly, similar to the forms of how it does in Sonic Adventure and a Child Garden section in Sonic Adventure 2, and possibly Sonic Heroes as well for the flight formation, but no matter what though, he gets tired out very easily, which I know for a fact that originally though, this game was supposed to able to have ourselves the actual flight meter, similar to how it does in Sonic Heroes, but because this game is awfully rushed, so this means about the fact that this game is unfinished and unpolished at the same time. So yeah, you get the idea for this point. Oh, wait a second, we actually stumbled across into the most infamous sections. So yeah, this is the forms of the introduction to the Mark Speed sections, well, only for Sonic anyway. So at the end of certain Sonic sections, or Sonic stages for that matter, you constantly running forward, and you able to continuously running while trying to dodge things, and because of that though, these stages are, or these sections rather, are by far the most infamous out of them all. Mainly because you'll be running into stuff very easily, especially how annoying some of the hitboxes can able to be represented. Like, right there, I wasn't near to the falls of that plum tree. Like, the game expects me to able to get this little janky hitbox and stuff like that. And not to mention though, is about the fact that when you jump in midair, there's no momentum if you're trying to able to change directions in midair. So that's already bad enough as it is. And in addition to that though, there's that one in particular level coming up that's rather brutally difficult. If you're assuming if you're trying to go after all the S ranks in the entire game, well, good luck. Especially concerning for the fact that, again, the first impressions in this game is really bad, you know? Especially no matter what though, people get so easily get frustrated with the forms of the entire first impression of this entire game really quickly. Especially noticeable with the introduction to the Mark Speed section, and on top of all that stuff though, with there's a whole bunch of loading screens, and you name the rest. So, yeah, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. Have you guys ever experienced Sonic the Hedgehog 2006? It doesn't matter if it's either on the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3 version. I will say, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. I mean, this game is not that good. I mean, relatively speaking though, I found it was a bit pretty bad at best. Or, for that matter though, mediocre at best. But there is one good thing I would able to give this game praise for, and that's the music.
It looks like the princess was moved to another location. Let's head back to the city.
Gee, that line of dialogue where Tails has said looks also very familiar as well, like the princess is in another location. Something very similar to the forms of, but our princess is in another castle. Gee, it feels like a ripoff of the forms of the Mario plotline. I mean, no matter what though, except the fact that those specific characters do speak this time around, so I guess that seems to be the case. So, yeah, what's the point of going into the forms of Wave Ocean anyway? It feels kind of meh to me. Although it's especially noticeable concerning it's almost very similar to the forms of, you know what I'm saying, Emerald Coast from the likes of Sonic Adventure, so you name the rest. So that pretty much does it for that particular level. Now let's go ahead and move along to the forms of the next part of the entire game. But first of all, let me just go ahead and talk to this guy and able to purchase the anti-gravity upgrade, where this allows me to able to perform a slide. Now, in order to able to actually just notice about the fact that the actual running speed for Sonic is a heck of a lot slower in comparison to the forms within the previous 3D Sonic games, which I already know for the fact that this game is already bad enough as it is, as I've already explained about this before, but it's even more apparent about the fact that you do realize about the fact that, well, I noticed for certain for one thing, every nowadays, a lot of people seem to able to play this very, very well made fan game project, which appears to be known as Sonic P06 or Project 06, which then again, that particular topic can wait during at some point, probably on Wednesday sometime. And because of that though, yeah, you get the idea for this point. So, oh, seriously, those loading screens are annoying. Although, let me know in the comments down below as well. Do you want me to able to edit out those specific loading screens, by the way? Because those loading screens are the most infamous. And especially noticeable that thankfully on the Xbox 360 version, does manage to reduce the loading times for a bit, assuming if they're able to actually patch the game or something, whilst compared to the PS3 version, it feels kind of like lengthy and longer. So because of that though, yeah, it's rather annoying. So anyways, let's go ahead and save our game quickly, just in case we're probably not going to get a game over, because I will admit though right away that I'm sort of able to actually just to know what exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, because I play this game tons of times, you know?
You're a good girl, Elise. Remember, be brave. Don't cry, no matter what happens.
Mr. Sonic!
Just call me Sonic. Now then, are you okay?
I'm so glad that you came.
I always keep my word.
Sonic!
It looks like a pesky rat has stuck its nose where it doesn't belong. Well, a hedgehog to be more precise. The princess is mine. Until I unlock the secret of the flames of disaster.
Tails!
Got it! Let's go!
So we've met again with the forms of Dr. Eggman, and we did somehow manage able to meet up with Princess Elise, which pretty much leads us to the very first boss in the game, known as Cerberus. Now, there's one thing that makes no sense. Usually, for those of you who probably already know about the Greek mythology kind of stuff, usually Cerberus was a three-headed dog. For whatever reason, for Cerberus, he was actually got one head instead of three heads. That makes no sense to me. Well, I'm guessing I'm pretty much used to with the Greek mythology kind of stuff, especially after watching Hercules a lot of times, you know? So anyways, and here's the most annoying part about this, is that obviously I've already mentioned about this before, the loading times are pretty much abysmal. Well, turns out, no matter what though, not only for certain stages, but also for certain boss fights as well, also has loading screens. Like, god, there are abundance of them. But anyways, here we go with the forms of Cerberus, the very first boss in the game, as I said this earlier. And for the most part, it's pretty basic. So basically, though, it's about the fact that you need able to get onto the actual guardrails, onto its tail, and then once you get onto its horn, you need able to guide him on specific walls that he does need able to get smacked on. But as you can see, we actually do the double damage if you decide able to guide Cerberus right onto those specific statues, because that actually deals double damage. So, relatively speaking, it's a relatively easy boss fight, assuming if you know what to do. But here's one problem I have with certain bosses in the entire game, and that's what appears to be the camera. Like in the previous Sonic games, that the camera is always in plain sight because the camera decides to focus on certain boss fights. So you pretty much know what to do if you manage able to try to aim for certain boss fights. The camera does not focus on the Cerberus, so you have to maneuver it in order to able to see him. Like, imagine this, right? If you try to able to get onto its tail, the tail eventually runs out, and you expect it to able to land on its neck rail in order to reach the horn. And if the camera doesn't working for you, you fall for its neck completely, and you're able to occasionally take a hit and waste that specific jump. So, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that, yeah, it's kind of like a, you know what I'm saying, impressions are all over the place, you know? In fact, my very, first impressions of this game is just all over the place sometimes, but even then, though, that particular topic can wait, you know? So anyways, though, let's go ahead and move on to the last hit on him, and that should do the trick, because otherwise, if you manage to get onto a slight of an edge of that particular wall, or something like that, it will not count as a hit or something, so... Like, I know for a fact it's been a very long while since I actually have last played this game. I think the last time I actually played this game was actually by the end of last year in 2023, if I managed able to replay for the game on the Xbox 360 version. So, but either way, Cerberus is done, for now anyway, because there's actually more to it than that until for later, which you probably already know what that is. So, Anyways, oh yeah, I forgot to mention about something. Recently, today's date, of course, there is the 12th of February today, in some cases in 2024 today. I would have liked to explain something else for this point today, but I'm telling you right now, for those of you pretty much new to this, especially concerning for the fact that for those of you who already experienced Sonic 06 before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I'm sure enough, though, is about the fact that recently, back in during the forms of been, I would say, since by the end of 2022 or something like that, I believe that Kev King 74, or Stuart for that matter, has already experienced this game, and because of that, though, he basically just rage quit onto that game, so, which you probably already know what it is. So,
How long is this gonna go on?
Let's split up. I'll get their attention, and you take the princess.
Okay, you be careful, Tails.
Leave it to me.
Hold on tight.
Okay.
by the way, with that cutscene, by the way, for those of you who ever experienced this scene on the Xbox 360 version, my god, that cutscene lagged. Especially noticeable when Sonic says, okay, you be careful, Tails, and hold on tight, and Elise goes like, okay. And then obviously, no matter what though, the frame rate is even worse on the Xbox 360 version. Thankfully on the PlayStation 3 version it's not too bad, but I do notice about the fact that the frame rate decided to able to go into 30 frames per second for certain cutscenes in the PS3 version, whilst unlike the Xbox 360 version runs as smooth as 60 frames per second. Well, apart from few occasions. So, here we go, on to the advance to the next level, which appears to be a dusty desert. And basically though, it takes place in a desert. So, as you can see, the entire gameplay style is remarkably different on this stage, where basically we have to take Princess Elise all the way to the very end of the stage. And because of that, you're able to actually just to go ahead and realize about the fact that you were able to not allow to use the spin dash, or even doing certain movesets until for later. So, we'll explain more details about that if we go on to the later stage up ahead. So, basically though, Sonic, while carrying Princess Elise as the gameplay style, is incredibly bare bones, because the only thing you can do is jump, use his homie attack, and there's also this little technique called the forms of this particular Elise's power orb, where basically though this allows you to able to be protected by the forms of specifically, in this stage, is that you're able to come across into sinking sand, where if you come across into a sinking sand, you die instantly. But how do you come across to that exactly, or go across for that? Well, we do need to use this Elise's special power orb until you're able to walk across the actual the sinking sand hole, or anything else like that. So, yeah, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that I don't mind about this too much. I mean, still, it's a guilty pleasure of mine, even though despite the fact that some people might find this a bit, way too inconsistent with this particular gameplay style. I mean, luckily though, there's only 2 levels that involves around like this, like one of them in Dusty Desert and one in later on. So, relatively speaking, you know exactly what I was going to be on about it, so... I mean, for the most part though, this stage is not too bad to me. I mean, for one, there's only one loading screen in this entire stage, and there aren't any, punishing parts, like no mark speed sections and no real punishing parts. So I mean, relatively speaking though, it's not super fun or anything, but it's definitely more likely the harmless levels in the game. And, oh wow, look at that, I've got myself my glorious S rank. So, looking good so far, despite I somehow got the A rank on Wave Ocean, but that's just mainly because no matter what though, it's been a very long while since I've last played this, you know? Especially, you know, very excited about the forms of Sonic Cross Shadow Generations is coming onto modern platforms, so you get the idea for this point. So, oh, and something's worth noting for, yes, this game did somehow brings us into the gold medals, which I'll talk more about it, but it looks like we're going into Windows, Windows wallpaper for whatever reason.
I have no words to express how grateful I am for your help. You're hurt.
It's nothing.
Don't say that. I'm sorry. It's all my fault.
Smile. Your smile. That's all I need. Eggman mentioned the flames of disaster. Is that why he's after you?
Yes. The name of the sun god our country honors is Solaris. It is told that Solaris' rage would destroy the world. His wrath comes in the form of the flames of disaster. 10 years ago, we almost faced the full force of his fury. I was a child then, so I don't remember it very well. I lost my father then. And now that man is trying to cause the same disaster again. What can I do? Sonic! Sonic! Wait! I can't run that fast!
Don't worry. Just raise your head and run. Feels great, doesn't it?
Yes, I've never run so fast before.
Nothing starts until you take action. If you have time to worry, then run.
And after that particular scene, it looks like we immediately go back into Soliana, so we can able to bring Princess Elise back to her castle.
I've been looking for you. You're the Iblis trigger. Your actions will condemn us all.
Who are you?
My name is Silver. For the future of the world, I will destroy you!
But we somehow got interrupted by the forms of, what else? Yet another boss fight.
Time for you to disappear, Iblis trigger!
And this is where we get ourselves the introduction to Silver the Hedgehog. Which I will say, I do like him as a character, but I will admit though, yes, for the first impressions of this particular boss fight, it's pretty bad. Especially concerning for the fact that, well, it gets a bit unfair and punishing at the same time for those of you ever first time playing this game. Which, I only know for a fact I've already played this game loads of times in the past, since, let's just say in 2008, because I did somehow first time play this game since in 2008, on the Xbox 360 version, mind you, and yeah, I've somehow managed to get accustomed to it. But yeah, basically here we go with the forms of Silver as far as the first of one of those character battles, similar to the forms of how it does in both Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. You know what this game should have been called, but even then though, basically in this entire boss fight, you have to wait for this particular audio cue when Silver just goes like, how about this? And basically though, it's your chance to able to do not homing attack onto him, by the way, because if you dare homing attack into him for about twice, you're able to come across into the most infamous line for Silver's attack, like he goes like, it's no use, and stuff like that. So yeah, basically I highly recommend you able to use a actual sweep kick attack, so just in case you can able to get a little bit more invulnerability when it comes to movements. But still, for the first impression of this fight is not that great. I mean, I'm pretty much already done with him, no problem. But again, with first impressions, it's just pretty awful though. But either way, and that should pretty much gives me into yet another S rank, I'm pretty sure. Because we've actually collected a certain amount of rings, I'm pretty sure it is. So, either way, it looks like we've actually come across into 3 S ranks so far. Well, I was expecting to try to get another one from Cerberus, but unfortunately though, due to the forms of this weird AI behavior, this means that I can't guarantee to able to get everything throughout, which, again, I'll explain more about that until whenever we continue proceedings for this game. So, anyways, I think suffice to say we got the endings off here, so join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, specifically in Sonic's story. That's what appears to be about the fact that I believe we are still in the middle of this process of exploring through Soliana. So I'll see you guys until on Wednesday. Later, fellas.
Hey!
Is this a joke? How could someone like you cause the destruction of our world?
What do you mean?
It doesn't matter. For the sake of the future, the Iblis trigger must be destroyed.
Elise? Wait!
Ha! Don't you dare turn your back on me! It's time I finally put an end to this.
Stop!
Amy? Get out of my way, Amy. This is my mission.
Absolutely not!
Thanks, Amy. I appreciate it.